dedicated to empowering you with information
to make positive choices
and be advocates for your overall well-being.
Welcome to The Health View.
Welcome to The Health View. I'm Yvonne Dunitz, and today my guests are George Russell and Bob Bardis, and we're going to be talking about WSMN Radio. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So let's talk about the history of WSMN. George, you really began there, and what brought you there, and how did it evolve?
What do you mean I began there?
You began radio when you came to Nashua from New York, right?
Nope.
Where did you come from?
I come from New York, but I did radio for 6 years in New London on 90.7 FM.
And
then I moved down here in 2006. Then I did Nashua from 2006 on.
And you have the morning show?
Yep.
And that runs from?
6 to 9.
And what is it that you do in that show?
No idea.
No idea.
I get
Every
up and
day
get on
is
a
different.
microphone, and you have no clue what's going to happen. Nobody. I'm like a Cracker Jack box.
Yeah, this is true. Yeah. So you start everyone's day off, though, who's traveling.
Hopefully.
And where does WSMN reach?
What do you mean, footprint?
Yes.
A little north of Bedford, south down into Lowell. The signal travels more down towards 495 and out towards the coast, more than it would towards Hollis and out that way.
And you have been working at WSMN for many years now.
Yeah.
And recently, you acquired WSMN with Bob.
Yes.
Now, first of all, how did the two of you meet? Bob, have you been in radio before?
I have not.
So this is a new venture for you.
I got my experience from, I'm an attorney by trade, so I'm starting my 18th year as an attorney. So I started advertising a variety of different ways when I was supporting one of the local softball leagues, and a guy showed up with ESPN New Hampshire shirts, and I said, wait a minute, what is this? And they were affiliated with Tom Monahan's ESPN New Hampshire, the sister station to WSMN. Mr. Monahan owned both stations. So I came in, I started running advertisements and commercials and spots for my law office through ESPN New Hampshire. And I said, that's going to fit a demographic for the family law work that I do and the criminal defense work that I do. And then at some point in there, I was, beyond just the ads, somebody said, why don't you run a legal show? And they said, we'll introduce you to George to do the legal show. So he and I started working together, and I was doing From the Courtroom to the Community. And it was a 1-hour show, and I talk about whatever was trending in the Nashua Superior Court or the district courts, or just an informational legal show. No call-ins. I just had a agenda or a script that I would go through, or topic areas to cover. And then I asked Mr. Monahan if I could do a NASCAR show, or I asked who covered the NASCAR show for ESPN New Hampshire. And he says, we don't. We cover Patriots, Celtics, Bruins, Red Sox, everything. And I said, how can you be ESPN New Hampshire and not have a NASCAR show with a track 1 hour up the street? And he said, look, if you want to do a podcast, we'll give you a NASCAR show, and we'll run it and do something of that, and just a straight out trade. You know, I'm paying to run ads. I'm paying to do a legal show. He goes, we'll just barter off. You do your NASCAR show, and it can be the Bardis Law, and we won't charge you for it. I said, great. And I literally had a Kramer moment. I'm in doing the podcast, and I'm recording it, and the door pops open, and this guy busts through the door, and he goes, you need to do a show. And that's how it happened. And so at that point, we came in, and he and I started working together, and he started honing my skills and saying, this is how you present. You're doing this here. Where's that excitement? This doesn't trend. And I was on 2 different excitement levels. With NASCAR, I was up here because it's my passion. I love it. When I'm doing the law, I'm like, I do this every day. I've said this divorce speech to 1,000 clients. This is this speech. This is this speech. And George picked up that there was a dichotomy in my presentation. And once I got out of doing some of the legal shows, and I started coming on, and George invited me to come in on Friday mornings to work with him to do it. And that's where away we go.
So you worked together on a show, doing a show together at one point?
Comes in on Fridays and does the Friday morning show.
Oh, excellent. And then, George, you have always had a dream of having your own radio station, your own...
Not really.
Not really? You had said to me at one point that that's...
Fake news.
Come on, George.
No, I never did.
You had said you
Absolutely not.
What made you
I wanted
interested?
to do
Yes.
was get off of a second floor and have a station on a street level. That was my dream.
Okay.
Because owning a radio station is a pain in the you-know-what, okay?
Is it difficult?
Is this where we vote?
Yeah. It's difficult. Yeah, it's difficult. But, I mean, you know, Tom Monahan's a developer, and he's worked very hard his whole life to get to where he's at, and bought the stations and saved WSMN from darkness because he listened to it when he was a kid. His main thing was sports. So the two other stations, which eventually became ESPN, and WSMN was like the redheaded stepchild type thing. He said, well, I'll take that in with it because I listened to it as well. Now, you know, it was going for a little bit, but I took it over. It was dark and black, basically, not many listeners, and so I just started from the ground on up working like that there. And I said, one of the things I want to get is this thing on Main Street, on a street level where people are going by and they can see the shows and put a little flash up there in the window. That was the dream, you know. I never thought I'd get into radio. That was not what I started off to do. I'm a musician by trade. I was a touring musician. I moved to this state because it was beautiful, and I called the radio station owner in the year 2000 at the time because I was driving around listening to talk radio. I said, this stinks. And I called him up. I says, I don't know what you're doing with your station, but it's horrible. I come from New York. What do you got on there? He says, you think you can do better?
And that's where it began.
That's where it began.
And what made you decide to purchase the radio station and now
Okay,
become the owners
look,
of
when
WSMN?
Bob was, you know, one of the things that I'm really proud of for what we do for our station, especially the hosts that we have on now, is because I've always said that, you know, I need to become less, everybody else needs to become more. I don't know if you're talking about on the show, but you were on the station.
Yes.
Okay. And I love telling a story about how I met you, too, which is very important to you. But she's so scripted in here, I don't want to take her off and think she's going to lose
I'm
it
not
if I do.
scripted. I just want to get people to know the most they can about you.
And Yvonne did a great radio show that was very difficult to do. It was a challenge to do what she wanted to do. She didn't even know what she wanted to do. She didn't even know she was going to be on radio. That's how it happens.
Right.
Just like it happened with me, just like it happened with Bob. It happened with you. You've gone on to better stuff with $500,000 worth of equipment, but Bob and I are going to get there. That's how it starts. And Bob, I know when a person has that, when they got it. If I bring them in and they sit down on the microphones in the radio station, it doesn't happen so much in TV as it does in radio. There's a magic.
Yeah.
Something happens. It's like, whoa, when you leave, all right? And then I know that. I can tell it a mile away because I had it.
Right.
That's how it started. I was nervous my first time. My hands were sweating. My knees were banging. I left the studio going, I feel really weird. What's the problem? I called the owner. He says, you're in love.
Yeah.
I says, I guess so. So when I can see it or I find somebody that might be great for the community, edifying the community, wholesome radio, and a local person, if they, not everybody can get on a radio. Right. I mean, let's face it. There's some talent that you have to have, and you need to be trained and honed. And that's how you were. When I met Bob, he used to walk by the hallway briefly because my studio was next to the sports studio. So he'd come out and my door would be open. You know how it was.
I know.
And I'd see him go by. And he would be so dedicated to what he was doing. And I didn't even know who the guy was. So I went into the general manager and said, who is that dude? He says, well, he does a NASCAR show. I says, oh. And I started picking the brain on him and saying, and I'll tell you the truth about everything. Is he getting what he pays for? That's what I asked him, myself and the GM. He's paying a lot of money to advertise. Is he getting anything back because of it? And he says, well, it's been about 4 or 5 or 6 months. I says, I'll tell you what. I want to talk to him because I want to give him a show on SMN. And I didn't know him from a hole in the wall, but I just knew he had the passion. That's all I need to see. Yeah. So we did. We started talking. I said, you're going to do a show on this station. And it didn't matter if it was 1 o'clock in the morning, 4 in the morning, 10 in the afternoon, whatever day, I'm there. He was there. I knew he had it. It was radio. So Tom, you know, said he was all done with it because this guy has never made a dime. I'm going to tell you, in 15 years owning the stations, I don't think he's made it. I don't think he's made $500. Let's call it what it is. He's invested millions of dollars, literally millions. He had to bring them up, build the transmitters and stuff. He'll always be the one to tell you, you're going to spend $10 million to make $1 million in this business. That's his saying. Mm-hmm. So he finally said, I'm done. I can't do it. But he called me and said, I'm going to sell the stations. And his words were, you know, because in my business, something like this here, there's no great job. I don't think I've been told that 3 times after I got off the air in, 14 years doing it over there. But he says, you've worked very hard for the station, and I appreciate what you've done for me and for the station. And I'm getting rid of it, and I will do whatever I can do to put it in your hands. Because if I doesn't, because my kids don't want it. Because that's the first thing, is kids about anything. You know, he said, because I want it to continue to do what it's doing. I'm just exhausted. I want it. And I could only think of you. And this was on a Friday. And I said, she says, well, Tom, I says, look, here's 40 cents. If you want the 40 cents, I'll give it to you. He says, whatever we got to do, we'll do it. That scares the heck out of me. So I was driving home that afternoon on a Friday, and I went, Bardis. So I called up Bob on Saturday, and this was the first time I talked to him about money, and said to him, what are you paying for your spots, if you don't mind me asking? And he told me, I said, how would you like to own a radio station for that? And he says, he was just asking questions about it. Bought it on Monday. Tom Monahan, and all your commercial retail, you've never sold anything that fast in your life. And we both talked about how we were going to do this. And it didn't take much because he had the same passion that I had. And I knew that all I needed to do was, he's still learning a lot about this business. There's no doubt. It takes many, many years. But he's a quick learner. And he has the passion to want to do it. So Tom was very relieved because SMN was going to stay, because he was going to give it away to nonprofit, and told me, if we don't do this, then the format's going to change. And anything that we have had may go bye-bye. I can't be responsible for that. I said, I'm going to do whatever I can do to try to save it. Because I'm not going to change. I'm still continuing to do what I want to do. I made a decision a while ago, because from what I've done, from my peers and everything else have told me, I could go anywhere and do radio. There's not a doubt in my mind. And I said, I'm going to do Nashua. This is where I want to stay. People can either like me, not like me, but I'm not going anywhere, and we're going to be on the air. And that's when Tom said, let's do this one way or another. We worked it out. Yep.
So officially in March of 2017, you became the owners of the business.
We started the whole thing in August of 2016. And
George and I talked that weekend, and I went in to see Mr. Monahan the first of the week. And at that point, and still, the 3 stations were up for sale. The ESPN and the affiliate in Manchester, plus WSMN. Okay. And I said, I can't afford that price tag.
Right.
And George and I had the conversation, and I said, okay, this is going to be like a classic business arrangement. There's going to be a checkbook coming in, and I need a day-to-day guy. I can't do the day-to-day. You and I need to work out an arrangement. Well, let's do it. That was.
So do you own all 3 components?
No. So we came in, and that's where I switched back, and I said to Mr. Monahan, will you divorce the stations? Will you separate them? And I said, the other concern is that SMN can operate however we choose to. If you're under a franchise, you have to carry ESPN programming and answer to,
so you don't
ESPN
have that
corporate.
independence.
And I said, we didn't want that. I think.
Well, you wanted the creativity, the ability to be creative. So what do you want to happen now with WSMN, now that it's yours and it's right there?
Well, the first thing in the beginning of this was about the dream. And it's very funny, and you already know, and many people do, how this stuff works out. So it could have been 8 to 10 years in that studio, which we have now, which is above the Bank of America at 149 Main Street. I wanted to get the little window at the bottom of the stairs, which for years has been a quick office for somebody that's been in office. Whoever it might have been, this is the one that keeps turning over. And every time I went down to get it, somebody had it, somebody had it, somebody had it. Well, 2017, it becomes available in April or May. And I'm like, I'm going to get this window, and this is where we're going to be. And I'm talking with the landlord, and we're downstairs, and I got the keys, and I got the lease.
text. Bring the checkbook.
Yeah, I'm
Bring
like,
the checkbook.
We're ready to get. I'm going to get the studio on Main Street. It's going to have what we want. And an acquaintance of mine who, again, I did an interview with, and Bob Bianchi, who does a show with Bob Bardis. They do a NASCAR show. Is a member of the Masons at the Masonic building, and took me on a tour of that building several years ago, which blew me away. And somehow we crossed paths on that Friday.
Wow. And
he said, are you still looking to get out of that studio upstairs? And I says, yeah, I'm going to get the window downstairs. I'm going to get the papers. I'm going to sign it. And I goes, I want to show you something. So I said, what? So we walked down the street, walked upstairs. I said, I need this like a hole in the head. I've been begging to get this place down here. The papers were here. I took them out of my back pocket. I said, I'm going to go bring these over to Bob right now. And I had to go back to the landlord and say, you know the place I've been trying to get for 10 years? I don't want it. We're going to take that window above Fratello's in the turret, and we both had an envision to do that. It now, in real time, 13, 14 windows outside are all stenciled. The interior's been done. There's equipment moved in there, and I have a better place than I originally had my heart desired on.
And what will it allow you to do now?
I have a view of Nashua that nobody has. There's not a building in Nashua that has north, south, east, west view.
So your weather reporting will be great.
Perfect.
Yeah, because we're not just on Main Street, we're over Main Street.
Yeah,
Right,
That
so you
turret
can
sticks
really
out.
see.
You can see the intersection of East Hollis Street and West Hollis Street at City Hall all the way, and you can watch the traffic light turn at the top of Library Hill.
So you'll be able to see out. People will be able to see you
Oh,
above.
Yes.
you
It's
better
not
believe
the
it.
walk-in aspect, but it still gives you
It's
that
going
great
to catch
view.
your eyes because it's as loud as me.
Yeah, okay.
And
then you can't be missed.
You're not going to be. But you asked what
What do you
what
want
we
to
gonna
do with the
Okay,
program?
well,
What is it going to look like from now
I
on?
have tried to do, since I started to run that radio station
Yes.
many, many years ago, was get rid of the syndicated programming.
Okay.
That's why I brought you on, and I got
Okay.
other hosts on.
Yes.
But actually, the talent was few and far between to find. But if I got them, I made sure they were on the morning slot. Your job was to continue to be consistent. That's how it works. So the objective is to remove it all and fill up the dial with local hosts.
Okay.
That I don't even care if they don't talk about Nashua, but I know that they shop and they eat in Nashua.
Yes.
And it's a human being that's sitting in the window.
Yes.
Because there's nothing, better when you're going down the road and what's going on up there? That's a radio station. Bang! And we've never had that.
So are you looking for hosts that come in and are part of your staff to hire hosts? Or are you looking for people to rent time?
I'm always looking for quality hosts. Always. I don't care what they want to talk about. Anything that your show I took because I thought that you would edify the community. It's not a bummer type of show that's bang, bang, bang. It's different.
Yes.
And nobody's ever done what I try to do with your show on radio. Many people wouldn't even take a chance with it. Okay? I thought it'd be good. And I know you got listeners because of it. So hosts like that we want on. And we want them to do their own show. So, I mean, in the growth of the radio station from when you went through a health issue, which we're so glad you're better now.
Thank you.
I had myself and Karen Testament was doing a show when Bob and I took over. I now have 15 local hosts on that radio station.
Excellent.
No growth in any radio is better than that.
Yes.
I don't care who it is.
That's excellent. And you have a diversity of programming.
Absolutely.
What are you most proud of?
Every host that comes on and does a show, I am so proud of having local radio. That's all that matters.
So then you're reaching out to the community, part of the community, not only a neighbor to the community, but you're supporting the growth and the well-being and the health and the happiness of the community.
Isn't this the way the station was 60 years ago?
Absolutely.
It was the point of, I know that things change because you've got so many different areas to get your stuff, but we have so many great hosts that are on right now that when I listen, I'm like, this is what this is supposed to be. So I still have some hours I want to get rid of and fill in, but my hosts are very good. They're well-spoken. They just do good radio. None of them knew radio. I'm very proud of that. I've trained every one of them. They can do their own style, but they know how to manage a broadcast clock.
Yes.
Like you have learned.
Yes.
And that's good radio. And people now that can tune in, I know that guy, or I know that gal, or this gal knows that guy. And that's how you bring the community together.
I'll never forget you saying, because I asked you often, how do you know how many people actually really listen to your station or to your programming? And I remember you saying, George, you never ever know how many people will really be listening, but someone will be hearing you, and someone, all it takes is one heart that you can change, or one person to hear the information that you have to offer, and that's made a difference in their life.
How did I learn that? I learned that because I got a sweater in the mail from a woman who knitted it, who said that my husband died on a Friday, and I was scanning the dial, and I came upon you on Monday, and after the initial shock, she said, I started to listen to you every day, and you've been with me ever since. I wanted to say thank you. I would have never known that. So if that happens with me, it happens with everyone. And I train all my hosts, you don't talk to a whole bunch of people, you talk to one person. That's all that really matters, okay? That's you can't think of that whole big thing. It doesn't
No,
work
you
like
can't.
that. One person.
And I used to always, when you said that to me, even with the television program too, I always remember that, because that's where we make a difference in passion and reaching out. Because if our intent is to make a difference to that one person, whoever that person is, via radio, television, raising awareness, communicating in our kindness in the way we are with people, we make a difference in their time, in their life, and the way they spend their day. And when you think about your show, you start off first thing in the morning. A lot of people are rolling out of bed and getting ready to start their day. And whatever you say and whatever you do, in a sense, sets the intent of the beginning of their days.
Yes.
It really does.
You get used to it, you know. But my guests that I have are great. That's why they're reoccurring all the time, and they come in, and I'm just the air traffic controller for that station. I've always said that. I mean, my job is to just get people started in the morning, talk about what's coming up in the afternoon, if they've got some public service stuff to put out there, and give you something that is not like anything else. That you can be assured of.
Yes.
You know, there's no one else is going to compare to what you're going to get in our morning. Once you get over, what the is this? After that's done, you're all right. Trust me, the water's good. Put your feet in.
Well, you obviously have a good cup of coffee when you begin your day.
Believe it or
and
not,
you're
I only
ready
drink
to go.
one. I don't even get through it.
And how about for you?
I was going to say, but to follow up on what you said, this was exactly it. You're going to make a difference at some point. And George did that for me, and radio did that for me. You know, being a criminal defense and divorce attorney, people don't like me. They don't call me when they're having a good day. You see good people during bad times. And I had to find that work-life balance, and I was struggling, and I couldn't find it. And for me, to come in and do radio and to talk NASCAR or to talk something other than legal, and George developed that and said, that's the passion, we got to continue to work that. So it started with him changing a difference for me, and from a self-serving point of view, that made me a better person to now give back and say, I need to do something else, because if I feel this good, just by either conveying it or listening to it, then someone else is going to do it. So I brought in a few other attorneys that are trial attorneys and said, you need to do a show, and same thing. The presence that you bring in the courtroom, when you grip that podium and you talk to that jury or you talk to that judge, it's storytelling. Right. And I don't mean a fictional sense.
No, I totally
I'm
understand
saying,
what you're saying.
You have to take them on the journey to get from point A to point Z.
Absolutely.
And you're trained in that subconsciously or directly in law school to do it. So I feel that when I can bring some attorneys in, I can help guide them to say, this is how you're going to present, this is how you're going to do it, and then have George take the tutelage from there. And
now you have a new facility that you will be officially moving into when?
I can't give you the date.
All right, then.
I've done it like 12 times.
Describe that facility, how it's different than where you are, and
it's
your equipment.
Very clean.
Is your equipment different?
Yes.
Okay, tell us about it.
Everything's upgraded.
Everything's
from the place
upgraded.
where you come in and sit down.
Yes.
To the guest room. Everything.
The music room.
We don't have a music room. We have instruments. We have live music.
You have live music.
We're going to be
I
doing,
love that. Remember when I brought that into my show?
Yes.
You said, "Boy, this hasn't been
I got
done."
the idea from you, Yvonne.
There you go. Live music really helps.
We're going to have mic night, open mic night.
Oh,
so
wonderful.
you come on in and you play live on the radio.
Oh, fantastic.
We're going to incorporate more music into the station because it was like that. Because the M is for music.
Right.
Yeah, we've talked about that. The Weather Sports Music News was the original WSMN, and it just became all news at some point. And I've joked several times, and George agrees, that I said, General Motors used to put out the slogan that says, this is not your father's Buick. And we've been kind of repeating and saying, this is not your grandfather's WSMN.
So
I've been telling them don't say that because I still want your grandfather's.
The Buick?
But what do you want it to be? What is the new WSMN?
Actually, the new's the old.
Yeah.
And how is it the old?
But to bring back to music, I want to see Sinatra Sundays. When I put brunch on and I'm cooking and doing whatever, I want to be able to tune in. But at the same time, it's not just to the people that are in the surrounding community, because the different demographics of, you can now listen to us worldwide. You put it on the TuneIn app and we can talk to anybody from anywhere. And at some point, that old system of bringing back just core functions of, here's Money Matters, here's a legal show, here's a gardening show, here's the news show, the political show, and then expand on that and say, here's some music, and it's local musicians playing.
That's the great thing Nashua can thank God about local owners, because I've been in this business and I know it like the back of my hand, okay? And other corporations that own radio stations would never dare do what we can do and want to do. I could bring a radio show on that talks about shoes for an hour. They wouldn't dare do that. I'll do it. You know, I got a lady that's going to be coming on doing a fashion show on fashion. They'd never dare do that. Okay, we'll do it.
Just because you have that creativity and that ability
because
to
that's
do
what
it.
local radio's about.
And how do people find you on the radio dial?
You tell them.
You tell them. Go ahead. It's your
You have
show.
your old clothes. You
Go
want
ahead.
to do it? 1590 on the dial.
Right.
And the website's WSMN1590.com. And all the portal from there. You can go, that whole new social media stuff. We've got a girl that does that now.
Working on that.
As a matter of fact, when you go to as soon as the cameras get on in the new station,
okay,
when you go to our website, you'll have 5 cams on, full time.
So people will be able to
see
also
north, south,
see
east,
it.
and west on Nashua.
Right.
Wow.
And
that's
what's going on
fantastic.
inside the studio.
So it's not just radio then. If
No.
they can really see what's
You have to-
going
you
on,
gotta do that
you've
now,
got
you
your own
know.
little show.
I just don't have this type of equipment. I got a $30 cam. He's got a $500,000.
But that's okay. So if we were to summarize what you want people to know about where you are and the exciting future that you have now begun in this new chapter of your life, what do you want to tell them?
We exist,
Yes.
and we're back.
You're back and you're going to go to 1590.
You said added on to him. I'd like to be where we were at one time, where we were legitimate news, where I have a staff of news that covers news that's challenging a lot of other people. I'd like to get there.
And I would hope, George, if anybody could do it. I know we're at a time where we're talking and we're hearing a lot about fake news, but I think everyone who is in any type of media, radio, television, or whatever, has a responsibility to come from the highest state and highest self and really do your homework, do your job, and represent the information that is.
Well, we're proud of that. I do that. My
do
facts
that.
are on.
Yes.
My opinion's all over the place.
Okay.
That's what makes successful.
Yeah,
But he signed the waiver, the release, the indemnity agreement.
Now you know why I got an attorney. Was I smart?
Yes, you
You
were.
came from heaven.
Yes, he did. It was meant to be.
And we do
Oh,
the long
yes,
hair
of
alibi.
course.
That wasn't me.
Come
That
on.
was the other guy.
That
wasn't
was
me.
it.
That was the other guy. Yeah.
So from a health view, radio does play a very important component.
I didn't say it was
because
healthy.
I am, though. Because
okay, good.
I think it's important for
Blessed.
people to realize that radio is another format of communication and bringing a community together. And from everything that you both have said, your intent is to really highlight Nashua, be there in a greater way, not just for the greater Nashua area, but throughout the listeners, whoever are listening, and give them good information, interesting information, important facts, and really hold the bar up related to radio and the opportunities that can come from it, as well as enhance the abilities of people in the community to have a forum to go to, i.e. musicians, to be able to play, i.e. people who have other interesting topics that they would like to join your network and be a part of. It's an exciting time for you, and I'm looking forward to your having an open house and to letting the people know everything that you're doing and to watch you grow, and may many blessings be with you, and may it be a wonderful future for you. Thank you. Until next time.
The preceding program